Hey guys, it's Matt. Every once in a while, if I'm going to do a video, say on Not Nilk travel tours or something like that, take a look at CNN.com to just make sure there's not some gigantic news in the world that I don't know about. Because it would look awfully foolish if I'm doing Not Nilk travel tours and, something really big is going on. So take a quick look. And I just can't believe what I'm seeing today. This exposes everything. Now, it's not the biggest story of all time, but they're recycling this theme back again. I mean, honestly, guys, if you want to pass this video to anyone, I'm not going to say anything that's going to embarrass us. I'm not going into other topics, if you know what I mean. But this is ridiculous. Jobs, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Jobs and financial security could start disappearing. I want to laugh. In less than a month. Millions of Americans could suffer if the debt showdown isn't solved in the next 30 days. They're doing it again. 2004, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Debt showdown, debt ceiling. Will it be approved? Government shutdown. They're playing the same script out again because it was proved to be absolute fiction, an absolute script. There is no basis for this. This is 100% an act. There is no legitimacy to this at all. They kind of just made it go away for 5 or 6 or 7 years. We thought, well, the American people won't remember that. They're playing it again. First bullet point, House Speaker McCarthy agrees to meet with President Biden after the Treasury Secretary said, oh no, the U.S. could default on its debt by, oh no, June 1st. What's today? May 2nd. Oh my goodness, how much time do we have left? See, have you ever heard, has anybody listening to the sound of the words coming out of my mouth ever heard of the boy that cried wolf? There's a story. Wolf on the horizon! Wolf on the horizon! And the townspeople take up torches and pitchforks and they go to face the wolf, and there was no wolf at all. And the little boy snickers. He was lying. Second time, there's a wolf. They do the same thing. Oh, you know what? There ain't no wolf. It's that little boy, that little bastard over there just keeps making this shit up. This is the boy that cried wolf 4,000 times, and the people react to it as if it's real. You've got to be kidding me. Second bullet point, CNN anchor explains how every family could be affected by U.S. debt default. Oh boy. Third bullet, analysis. It's time to worry about a U.S. default. For real this time, it says. Well, that's acknowledging that every other time it was fake. No, that's the boy that cried wolf. He says, wolf, wolf, wolf. The blacksmith stops what he's doing, looks over at the boy and says, boy, we don't believe you anymore. You've done this to us how many times? Look around, boy. Nobody reacts to your wolf cry anymore. Then the boy piles up some rocks. He gets all this stuff and he gets up on high and he says, no, you guys don't understand. Just like the CNN bullet point says, he says, it's for real this time. And the blacksmith says, wait a second. You're admitting it's for real this time? What do you think we should do, people? Let's get pitchforks and torches. It's for real this time. The boy that cried wolf just proclaimed this time it's real. This is the ultimate test of stupidity ever presented to the American people. There are certain levels of IQ tests and things like that, things they give third graders in school. This is it. This is the litmus test, whatever that means. If, as the American citizen, if you buy this, there's literally no hope. No hope. I'm not one for trying to wake people up, but this might be the one last thing you ever send people. Not that you got to bring them around and have them investigate conspiracy and the Loch Ness Monster and all that, but just say, if you believe this after the boy has cried wolf 84 million times, you are one of the stupidest individuals that ever walked on the face of the earth. Let's go over to the U.S. debt clock and take a snapshot. It just moves. It moves. You can't even see the last few digits. It's moving so damn fast. So look at that debt racking up. It's racking up. It's now, per this snapshot, it's probably $1 trillion more than when I started this sentence. It's 31 trillion, 720 billion, 347 million, 971,085 cents. Most people have no idea conceptually how large the number 1 trillion is. It just rolls off our tongue. We hear it all the time. Trillion here, trillion there. But we don't having any idea conceptually how large the number is. You can look at certain graphics if you do an image search. Show 1 billion of this versus 1 trillion. It's an order of magnitude that's hard to get your mind wrapped around. We can kind of do it in the modern age, but literally, if you express this concept to Kevin Costner when he was headed out west to be with the Sioux and way back then or whatever, he couldn't literally wrap his mind around it. I don't know why I thought about this example, but it's coming back to me. In Dances with Wolves, Kicking Bird keeps asking or trying to get the information out of Kevin Costner. How many of you are coming into Sioux land? How many white people are coming? And even Kevin Costner, I don't know if he can't get his head around the number of billions or whatever, or Kicking Bird isn't going to understand. They've got like 5 Sioux tents for every 400,000 miles. He's like, I don't know how to explain it to you. Like the stars? Like the stars? In terms of, what if he had to express to Kicking Bird the size of the U.S. national debt? Say, like the stars, but add 3 zeros and a 31. What? Add 3 zeros to the stars? That's impossible. No, that's what the U.S. debt will be someday, Kicking Bird. Look at the number underneath. U.S. federal spending. Oh, it says official. It says official in brackets, so it makes me feel so good. I was hoping to get the official, not the unofficial. Does it really matter when it's this obscene? U.S. federal spending per year, this is. Per year. $6.36 trillion. Over $6 trillion per year. Now, if you're under age 65 and you're not on Medicare, what do you get for $6 trillion spent per year? What do you get if you're not on Medicare? You get, listen for it, squat. You get squat. What? 6 trillion spent? You telling me I get squat? That can't be right, man. Let's go out on the street and interview a few people. I'm walking down the Market Street here in Philadelphia. Joe Blow, John Doe, Jane Doe, come here. I want to talk to you. Yeah, you. Come over here. I want to ask you a few questions. Don't run away. Come back. Okay, you, sir. Do you know that the U.S. government, federal government, the local spending is out of control and the state spending is out of control? We're just talking about federal government. $6 trillion a year spent. Did you know that, sir? No. Well, I want to ask you this. What do you get for all that money spent, right? All your kids' college education should be paid for. There should be a new car in your mailbox every other year. You should never have a mortgage. What do you get for all that spent? There's got to be. Well, okay, I'll give it to you. If you're on Medicare and you're over age 65 and your hospital bills are $80,000 a day, fine, you get that. What else? If you're under age 65, what do you get? I get Social Security? No, you paid into that, you jackass. That's your own money coming back that they used for 40 years. You getting your own money back for the most part. Oh, well, maybe they funded about 2 cents a day or something. You're getting your own. No, that ain't right. We get roads? No, you don't get no roads. That's state. The federal government holds money back, though, from the states to hijack their agendas in their House and Senate. So the federal government gets the bills that they want. They'll hold back money from the states, but ultimately the responsibility for roads is your states. That's not the federal government's responsibility either. We get U.S. military defense. Oh, yeah, you get the $1 trillion spent on Raytheon, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman. Who are we at war with? It was a T-ism threat. Oh, my God, I got to end this interview on the street. I can't take it any longer. Continuing the CNN legitimate news article, the jobs, benefits, and financial security of millions of Americans could start disappearing in less than a month as the Republican House leverages a debt showdown to try to force big spending cuts on Joe Biden's administration. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on Monday issued a stark warning that the U.S. government could run out of money. If it could run out of money, why is it spending $6 trillion a year? That's the point, Matt. They need budget cuts. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just continue to read. Run out of money as soon as June 1st, unless Congress raises its borrowing authority and we get into that debt limit bullshit for the millionth time in a row. Failure to do so could trigger a domestic and international financial catastrophe. Oh my God, a domestic and international catastrophe. Yellen wrote to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy that unless Congress acted, It would cause, quote, severe hardship to American families, harm our global leadership position, and raise questions about our ability to defend our national security interests, end quote. Wait, Yellen wrote to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy? Couldn't be a letter. Do they use owls? Like, what was that one in Harry Potter, Hedwig? His owl was called, maybe they send owls back and forth like Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. Experts have warned of, what experts? Experts, just trust their experts. Experts have warned of a potential crisis on the scale of the 2008 financial meltdown, with the threat of benefits not being paid to veterans, and senior citizens won't get their benefits, and halts to military funding. They're going to invade. We're not safe. And other vital government programs affected, like funding for the Obama and Clinton libraries. Most people don't realize in the back of the Clinton library, I can't even say it, this video won't load, there's a stack of certain type of magazines. All right, it's a good time to pause to see if the story that's being presented by the federal government and all their little minions, CNN.com and all, see if anything were real, there would be one article every 10 years where if there was a real person writing it, that would say, the U.S. federal government is claiming this about the debt, but should we fall for it again? See, if anything were real, those sorts of headlines would go out. There's never any dissension at all amongst the news outlets or the sources of media, but no, that doesn't give reality away at all. We're just conspiracy people. Sorry, let me get back to the point. Let's just assume somebody goes through the collegiate and university path. Let's just follow Obama's path. It was all given to Obama and paid for, but let's just say somebody actually had to go into debt and they followed Obama those same years. They went Occidental College, that was given to Obama. Columbia, that was given to him, but this person actually went into debt. And then Harvard Law. That was given to Obama too? Yes, it was given. Okay, this person comes out, graduates with Obama. He runs off to be given a job in Chicago, no debt. But you or this person in our example has $400,000 of debt. Then you go get a house, and that's $500,000 of more debt because the person is expected to get a good job like Mitch McDeere in the firm, and the bank will gladly lend the money. All right, here's two questions. There were two debt totals in our example. The $400,000 for the student loan. Put your hands out so you remember, like my cousin Vinny. $400,000 for the student loans, $500,000 for the house loan. Now that person's got to pay that money back over 20 to 25 or 30 years. They've got to go out and work hard. Well, of course we know that, Matt. Get to the point. Okay, here's the point. How much of what was lent did money that actually existed that the banks or the lending institutions actually had? How much money did the lending institutions, out of that $900,000, how much did they actually have? $50,000. If the banks only had $50,000 on hand, well, where did the $850,000 come from to make up the entire amount borrowed for the student loans as well as the mortgage on the home? It was made up. The money was made up and created out of nothing on a ledger, on a keyboard. There was no money. It came into existence at the time the loan was made. The banking institution, and y'all know this, so I'll be quick, but people might have stumbled upon this video or it was sent to someone. This is not a conspiracy. The banks did not have $850,000. They simply made it up on a computer, typed it into an existence, gave it to the person so they could go off to college or buy the home. Then the person has to spend 30 years slaving away to give money back that the bank didn't have in the first place, that was just created out of the blue. So per fractional reserve banking, they only need 10% on hand. The $400,000 for the student loans, guys, I'm not assuming the same rules even apply. Per the federal lending and all that for student loans, all of it comes out of the blue. Does it really matter if the bank didn't have 90% and just made it up and the 10% still applies to the student loan? Does it really matter? People that want to reject my argument or don't want to believe what the world really is or hide their blinders on for the worldview, they'll say, oh, Matt got that part wrong. They'll latch onto the one little thing I got wrong. That way they can just use that as an excuse. They don't have to believe the entire fraud that's being exposed here. The point is, do you really believe that in the case where the bank or the lending institution, just everyday life, they can just make the money up, that this is legitimate? See, when you go to get your mortgage, the bank can just make it up, just create the money out of nothing, the $2 million you need for your house in Bryn Mawr or Villanova. But in this, the national debt, see, now it's real. See, this is a different situation. Spending has to be cut. And when, Matt, don't you understand? They float bonds and they
float treasury bills, and there has to be a market for those treasury bills through Vanguard and Fidelity. And if nobody's out there to buy the bonds like the Saudis, we're really in trouble. Oh yeah, that's right. At the local level, the bank could just make the money up. But when it comes to a national crisis, everything could melt down, 1929 or 2008 all over again. See, in this situation you're looking at here, they can't make the money up. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. This is completely legitimate, but when you get your home loan or your car loan, that money's made up. But this money's not made up. Oh, I'm sorry for making this video. I paused for a minute or two. I can be a little bit all over the place when I get upset like this. Let me explain it very simply. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, see, to cover the national debt, and every time they raise the debt ceiling, they have to float bonds. See, it has to be presented as legitimate. We have to float bonds and debt instruments to get the money we need, even though the government's going into debt. It's not all covered by tax revenue, and there needs to be a market for those bonds. You want to talk about a real crisis? Float $500 billion of treasury bonds and have no takers, no buyers, no international markets. That's a real crisis. Ask New York City about that. Why should I believe that the floating of bond process is legitimate? Now, there's many reasons I believe it's not legitimate, but just go back to what we know happens at the local level when you go to the bank to get your mortgage for the home. Once again, they make the money up. They didn't have it. They simply type it on a computer. Then you have the money. They print out a cashier's check that you can take to your closing. It's just numbers on a piece of paper. The bank creates it, puts it into existence. They did not have it. Why would I believe that the funding of the federal government is any different?
Matt, well, they can't just do it off book. Haven't you ever heard of the Fed balance sheet? And everything has to be transparent. And
oh, I never heard of that. No. They lie to us about everything. They lie to us about everything. But I'm going to believe the Fed has to account for every dime. And there can't be funding that's off books. No. Who would ever think that that's possible? Guys, I don't know who you're going to send this to. I don't know who I'm going to send this to. If anybody believes this boy that cried wolf, debt ceiling story, crisis is coming, I mean, literally, I don't know what litmus test means, but if somebody believes this story, they're one of the dumbest people on the face of the earth. Now, this entire scam, once you understand the basics of it, it exposes everything. It exposes how fake politics is. Everything is a fraud and melts down when you have this simple understanding. So a politician will come out and say, the spending of this administration's out of control. Obama said it in his campaign in 2007. The Bush administration, the Republicans, racked up, it was just like 14 trillion of debt. Now it's 31 trillion. And Obama, remember his words, he said, that's unpatriotic, that level of debt. That's un-American. Well, Obama's not the only one to complain about runaway spending and debt. They all do it. There's two options, only two options. This isn't a conspiracy. They're either lying and know that you can never bring the debt back in or the economy would collapse. That's easily demonstrated. I'll talk to you about that in a second. The politicians, every one that said we need to control spending, they're either lying or they're stupid and have no idea how the system works. If they're obviously lying, if they're stupid and have no idea how the system works, then anybody taking Obama on in a debate, I'm not ready to be president, but I would be able to destroy him in a one-on-one debate saying, Obama, what you said is completely wrong. You see, we'll just do it right now. Every new dollar in an economy that needs to grow has to be attached or linked to a debt instrument. Every new dollar linked to growth or needed for growth, and once you have $31 trillion in debt, you better grow quickly or the entire thing implodes. You can't put new dollars in per the way they say this system is set up, per the rules, unless it's linked to a debt instrument. There has to be a car loan or a mortgage or somebody going to buy a business. There has to be new debt. You can't have growth without it, per their own rules. Now, I think there's a lot of off-book payments. That's neither here nor there. This is the rules and this system that they say exists. If they're off-book payments, we can speculate that they're per their own rules, the whole system breaks down. So Obama's saying how horrible, he goes speech after speech, the Bush administration, debt, he says, that's unpatriotic, that's un-American. Barack, do you realize that an economy can't grow without new debt and every new dollar in the economy needs to be attached to a debt instrument? Did you know that, Barack? So let me get this straight. I could just beat Barack in a one-on-one debate, but whoever was going up against Barack at that time, I guess eventually became John McCain. Before that was Hillary Clinton. Neither of them could ever address they will never, of course, address it. That proves how fake it all is. A politician at that level can never talk about the system the way it actually exists. They'll never say that every new dollar an economy needs to grow has to be attached to a debt instrument. It gives all of politics away as fake, just that last sentence of what I just said, while they had never admit what is obviously happening. This isn't a conspiracy. This is 100% what every single professor down the road at University of Pennsylvania or Villanova would say how the federal government options from a fiscal standpoint. You can't have growth without debt. Therefore, you can't cut spending. You have to have more debt. The talk of cutting spending is a ruse. Here's Rick Santelli, CNBC financial analyst and bond expert on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or whatever. I haven't thought about this guy for 10 years. But in the tradition of stalled century, I thought, he's probably still in that same job, pushing 20-some years. And I looked up, still a CNBC pundit on the Mercantile Exchange. Same roles, decade after decade. We're not here to talk about stalled century, so let's continue. Who knows what a minion like this really knows? But the point is, I don't know. I haven't heard from him in 10 years, and I hope to never hear from him again. Not that he ever called me, but even flipping by the channels. If anything were real, at some point he would come to the realization that, okay, every single time he's talked about a bond issuance or a federal government T-bill issuance, billions of dollars, and there's always somebody there to buy. If there wasn't, it would implode. Okay, it would ripple. There would be 1929 all over again. So just year after year, no matter how bad things get, you have C of the me, 19. It's just every time there's always buyers for these federal bonds and T-bills, just magically. If anything were real, at one point, he would wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and say, this is a fraud of some kind. There couldn't be every time the federal government, I don't know what they offer, $50 billion at a time, $10 billion I don't know. But every single bond offering for this 20-some years that he's been there, there's always takers. No matter what the interest rate is, it would have happened 10, 15 years ago. People would have said, I'm tired. I don't need to put billions of dollars over here for 1.5 or 0.75, not even 1 percentage point or whatever it's up to now. It doesn't matter. At some point, there would have been no takers. That would have collapsed. It would have created a domino that collapsed the entire system. If this guy was at all legitimate, he would wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and say, it's just not possible that every time they floated their $1 billion of treasuries, there's always a taker. Of course, there's always a taker because the entire, quote, global economy is managed. You think, the Saudis and OPEC, we're held hostage. They just do their own thing. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. No, it's all coordinated. And today, in this technology, it's coordinated on a supercomputer. It's all fake. If you can't see that at this point, there is no hope for you. And I'm not talking to my subscribers. I'm talking about the one guy in Skokie that might pick this video up. Thanks for listening.